That's not.
Okay, everybody. Sorry. Listen, it had no sound, so we were fixing that, but now we're good. Okay, so I started talking to you about the half angle formula, okay? So we had sine, cosine, cosine, sine, and then cosine, cosine, sine, sine. Remember, that's the double angle formula, everybody? So sine, cosine, cosine, sine, and you keep the same. So if it's a plus, you put a plus. If it's a minus, you put a minus. If it's cosine, it's cosine, cosine, sine, sine, and you change. So if it's a plus, you put a minus, or vice versa, okay? Then we talked about the half angle. So if you start in the first quadrant and you half that, you're going to end in the first quadrant. If you start in the second quadrant, you half that, you're still going to end in the first quadrant. And if that happens, then everything is positive in the first quadrant. If you start in the third and fourth and you half them, then you're going to end in the second. Sine is what in the second quadrant? Positive or negative? Positive. Cosine is negative. So in the formula, you'll see you have plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of alpha divided by 2. And then for the sine formula, it's plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha divided by 2. And so I had you compare and contrast, and the only difference in that formula is that it's a minus. So remember, if it's sine, you just subtract. That's how I remember it, okay? And then we talked about if you're always either in the first quadrant or second quadrant, sine is always positive up there, but the formula says plus or minus, but that's why you see I went ahead and circled the plus, okay? I know it's been a minute since you did this, so that's why I'm drawing your attention back to these details, okay? All right. So let's find the half angle of this one. We did C before we left, so we're on D. It says sine of t divided by 2. So the formula is plus or minus the square root, and it's always 1 cosine of the angle, so I'm going to put a t, and then all over 2. And remember, if it's sine, then we're going to subtract. Good. And then remember, we started in which quadrant? Let's look at my picture. I'm in quadrant 3, right? Quadrant 3. So if you half that, you're going to end in quadrant 2. It's right there. Y'all are going to need to spend some time with your notes to get reacquainted with it, okay? And that's okay. It's been over a week since you've done this. So if you start in 3, you're going to end in 2. So sine, we're finding the sine of the half angle. Which one's it going to be, positive or negative? If you're in the second quadrant. Positive. Good. So it's going to be 1 minus. And then what was the cosine of t? If I look at that triangle, what is the cosine? Adjacent over hypotenuse. What is adjacent divided by hypotenuse? Negative 15 divided by 17. So I'm going to write negative 15 divided by 17 and then all over 2. Okay? So I'm going to make some scratch paper over here. I have 1 minus negative 15 over 17. Minus the negative is plus. Good. And then we're going to change that 1 because you're adding a fraction. That's going to be 17 over 17, right? Plus 15 over 17. So 17 plus 15? 32. Thank you. So we have 32 over 17, all divided by 2. What do? Keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep 32 divided by 17. We're going to change it to multiplication. And then this is a 2 over a 1. So that's going to become 1 over 2. So you can multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. That's going to give you 32 divided by 34, right? And then that reduces to 16 over 17. What's another way I could have gotten that? What's another way? Remember, this is 32 times 1 divided by 17 times 2. So you can see that 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 32 16 times. So 16 times 1 is 16, 17 times 1 is 17. That's how you keep fractions smaller. That's what I do. Okay, questions? Any questions? Okay. Should we split this one? Does it benefit us to split this? Yes, the square root of 16 divided by the square root of 17. Because the square root of 16 is 4. So this is actually 4 divided by the square root of 17. And you do not have to rationalize. You can leave it like that. Questions? Any questions? No? Okay. So we went to this example where we had, again, an angle in the third quadrant. We found the missing side. It was -4. That's a Pythagorean triple because it's a 3, 4, 5, right? On that last one, it was also a Pythagorean triple. It is 8, 15, 17, right? So when you start to recognize those, it just helps you save time, okay? So now we're going to find the sine of beta divided by 2. So that's called a half angle, okay? Your formula is always plus or minus the square root, 1 cosine of the angle, so I'm going to put a beta, all over 2. And then you just have to remember if it's a plus or a minus. So if it's cosine, we keep it, the sign, right? And it's going to be a plus. So if it's sine, we subtract, okay? And then if you start in the third quadrant, end in the second quadrant, and you're finding the sine is positive in the second quadrant. So I know this is going to be positive square root of 1 minus. Look back. What's the cosine of beta? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Say it louder, please. -4/5. Thank you. And then all divided by 2. So I'll have 1 minus -4/5 over here. Minus the negative is plus. And then we need that 1 to be over a 5. So we're going to multiply by 5, multiply by 5. So this is actually 5/5 plus 4/5, which is 9/5 divided by 2. And then we're going to keep, change, flip. So it's going to be the square root of 9/5 times. Remember, this is a 2/1. That's a common mistake, okay? When people flip it, they just multiply by 2. But actually, we're multiplying by 1/2, okay? Straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 9 times 1 is 9. 5 times 2, 10. Does it benefit me to split this? Yes. So square root of 9 over square root of 10. Square root of 9 is 3. Questions? No? Okay, y'all do the next one. Find the cosine of beta over 2. You need a snack today, friend? You do too?
If I go to guess, like, she drew my paper. That's trying to guess what she did and find that she did.
She actually did not.
Was it you?
Yeah.
I know it's not. Oh, actually, what? Are you serious? She's always doing stuff. I'm saying my fault to her, not you.
Everybody love everybody.
It wasn't a loving way.
It was in a loving way. Oh, okay. Who's number 9?
Me.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, you're next on my list, friend. Do you mind talking to me, please? What'd you do, sir?
I said equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of beta over 2.
Hold on, I'm sorry. You put plus or minus the square root. Say again.
Of 1 plus cosine of beta.
Nice. Yeah, so whatever the angle is, that's why we put beta, because it's beta over 2. Okay? All right, keep going. Sorry.
Well, and then, like, it starts in the third one. So, like, if you go back, it's not be negative, so then it starts being negative.
Right, it would be. So it's in the third quadrant, so you're ending in the second, which means cosine, yes, is negative. Good job. So I'm going to write that right here. So since we started in the third quadrant, if you have that, then you're going to end in the second quadrant. So if you're looking for cosine is negative when you're in the second quadrant, okay? So very good job. Okay.
And then, I went over to the side
Mm-hmm.
to do the work.
Okay.
It ends up being 5 over 5 plus negative 4 over 5,
Okay.
which is just 1 over 5.
It's just 1 over 5. Okay.
But then there's a 2, so you gotta multiply by 1 over 2.
So over here, you just go ahead and multiply by 1/2.
Yeah, and then equals 1 over 10.
I like it.
So then the answer is negative 1.
So then the answer is negative what?
1 over square root of 1 over 10.
Yeah, perfect. What's another way we could have written that answer? Nice. So if that answer is not on your paper, it's because they rationalize. So it might look like that, okay? Remember, when you rationalize, that means you multiply by that square root, right? So then 1 times square root of 10 is just square root of 10, and then square root of 10 times square root of 10 is the square root of 10 squared. So it just falls right out and you get a 10, okay? Do you have to do this step? No, I'm just trying to make you aware. You all are at the age where starting to take the SAT is very important. I would recommend going ahead and doing that because senior year, first semester, you're applying to colleges. Second semester, you're applying for scholarships. So if you can go ahead and start to take it as juniors, that's a good idea. And especially since you're in pre-calculus right now, it should help you on the math portion, okay? So just FYI. What is it? Show the scratch? Okay. At this step right here, this is the keep, change, flip. He just combined it all into 1. And that, I mean, I'm fine with that. I would be able to follow his logic. But if you want to make another step where you know, where you have 1/5 divided by 2, like this, and then you have 1/5 times 1 over 2. That's fine also. Okay, so questions on half angles? Any questions on half angles? Do you remember your double angle formula? Sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Sine, cosine, cosine, sine. And then when it's sine, keep the same sign. Okay, so if it's a plus, you put a plus. If it's a minus, you put a minus. And then when it's cosine, cosine, sine, sine. Cosine, cosine, sine, sine. And you change the sign, remember? C with C, S with S, okay? Those are just Cherylisms. That's my way of remembering. If it doesn't work for you, figure out your own way, okay? I'm just sharing what works for my brain. All right, questions? That was it, yes? Okay, great. Now you can do those practice problems because I'm assuming you did not do those before break, and I respect that. That's fine, but you can do them now, right?